Hey, I got a 2000 Lincoln LS here. We had the airbag light on, and the cruise control buttons and the volume buttons weren't working correctly. And I've read online with this particular issue, sometimes the horn doesn't work correctly, and maybe some other stuff I can't remember for sure. But what the problem ended up being was the clock spring, which here's the old clock spring right here. This is actually the device, and this is the wiring that goes into a little box that a new one comes with. And what it is it takes the wiring from the steering wheel buttons, and here's the new one, and the wiring comes in and it allows the wiring not to get wrapped up as you spin the steering wheel around. Apparently, only Ford can sell you this part. It's about $150 right now here in April 2011, and yeah, I guess there's no aftermarket items. I did a pretty exhaustive search. So in order to replace it, what you have to do is the first thing you're supposed to do is disconnect the battery. Apparently, if there's an electricity, it could actually discharge the airbag, which is obviously something you don't want to do while you're doing the repair. So underneath, if I remember correctly, I had to remove this plastic panel, which is down here. I think it was just a couple bolts, and then if I remember right, I removed some other things when I was troubleshooting this. But there's a couple plastic connectors where you pull this little pin out, and then the connector comes out easier. And then also around the steering column itself, I had to remove 2 screws here, and then these plastic pieces came off. Apparently, I think I needed to pop this guy out of here too. I think it was pretty easy to figure out. You can see that there's little clips on there. But once you did that, and there's another one on the other side, a little plastic door that you open up, and then you remove 2 little bolt things, and then you can actually take the airbag cover off. Same thing, you got to be careful with this. I guess it can discharge. You've probably seen YouTube videos of people playing jokes on other people, but when it discharges, it's pretty powerful. And you can see there's a little connector on there, and that's what this connected onto. So you have to slide this yellow thing back down, and then I think it pulled right off, if I remember right. After that, you need to disconnect little wires that go to both sides of buttons. Then you use a Torx bit and you remove, or you actually almost completely remove, not completely, these 4 guys. Disconnect this wire, and then you take that off. That's your horn button. And if you remove that all the way, then the assembly actually will fall apart. You don't really want to remove those all the way out. After that, this is actually where it got a little bit difficult. Anytime you have to use a puller, sometimes it's hard to remove the item. But loosen this Torx bit bolt that holds the steering wheel on, and then I put a puller that held onto right here and right here, and I end up using my impact wrench to give it a good snap to pull that guy off. I will actually show you the puller I used. Oh, that's not it. I think this was the one that I used. Something along these lines. Yeah, I'm almost sure that's it. Is what I used. So you have a little collection of pullers there. And then once that broke loose, then I took the puller off, removed this bolt, the steering wheel popped right off, and then you're basically almost done. In terms of removing the clock spring, it's just a couple little metal plastic guys, kind of right there in the middle of the screen. There's 3 of them, and once you unsnap those, it actually comes off of the turn signal assembly, And that whole assembly actually just comes right off the steering column. It just snaps right off. It's really easy. It's self-explanatory. So once you put the new clock spring on there, oh, and you also have to remove that the little box from underneath the steering column. It's actually, I think I have a light on this, yeah. It's right there. There's actually a button. If you push this, you can pretty much just unpull it and pull it out. It was pretty easy, and then there's a couple wires that you have to disconnect. So plug in the new wires, slide that puppy in there. You know, you'll see that there's a few connectors here and there that you'll have to connect, but it's all really self-explanatory. And then feed the wires to the steering wheel, put the steering wheel back on. Oh, one detail I did forget, the new clock spring does come with a plastic lock on it. Don't remove it. So it snaps into here, and it kind of holds the you know, the pieces together, keep them from spinning around. Before you put the steering wheel on is when you can actually just pull that right off. So put the steering wheel on, and actually that's as far as I've gotten, but I'm really, you know, I'm just going to plug this guy back on, you know, plug the wires back into the steering wheel. Once I you know, put the horn back on, and like I said, put that guy back on, and then you just put these plastic pieces back on there, and then should be good to go. So sorry, it's kind of a sloppy video, but before I put it all back together, I figured I may as well shoot something. I don't know if there was a YouTube video on this.